For women over 60, have you ever slipped into a blouse or dress and suddenly felt like it aged you 10 years in an instant? It's a frustrating feeling because the truth is, fashion should be your ally, not your enemy. The right clothes can highlight your best features, soften your look, and bring out a sense of confidence that's timeless. But the wrong patterns, they can add years to your appearance without you even realizing it. Patterns are powerful. They're more than just decoration. They can shape how people see your body, your energy, and even your personality. Some prints are flattering, sophisticated, and give you that polished, I've got it together vibe. Others, unfortunately, can look dated, overwhelming, or unbalanced, pulling attention away from you and making you seem older than you are. And here's the surprising part. The patterns that add age are often the ones we've been told for decades are classic or safe. That's why today's video is so important. I'll walk you through the 6 specific patterns you should stop wearing after 60 because they instantly add age, and more importantly, I'll share what to wear instead. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which prints to let go of and which ones can refresh your style, highlight your natural beauty, and help you look effortlessly younger and more elegant. So if you've ever stood in front of the mirror and wondered why a certain outfit just didn't feel right, you're about to discover the reason. And once you see the difference, you'll never look at patterns the same way again. Now let's begin with the first type of pattern that many women over 60 wear without realizing how much it's holding them back. Small, busy prints. One of the most common mistakes women over 60 make is reaching for small, busy prints, like tiny florals, dots scattered everywhere, or micro patterns that fill up the entire fabric. At first glance, these prints seem sweet, dainty, and even youthful. But here's the hidden truth. When the eye has too much detail to process, the overall effect becomes cluttered. Instead of creating harmony, these patterns actually compete with your natural beauty. Think about it this way. When you wear a dress covered in hundreds of tiny flowers, the eye is drawn to the print, not to you. The fabric becomes the star of the show, and your face, your shape, and your presence fade into the background. Worse still, busy prints can make the silhouette look smaller, choppier, and less defined. And when you're aiming for elegance and confidence, that's the opposite of what you want. I once worked with a woman in her late 60s who loved her collection of small floral blouses. She wore them almost daily because she thought they made her look feminine and approachable. But when we swapped one of those blouses for a top with a larger, more spaced out print, her whole look transformed. Suddenly, her outfit framed her face, highlighted her posture, and gave her an effortless air of sophistication. She looked years younger without changing anything else, just by adjusting the scale of the pattern. So what's the better alternative? Instead of tiny, scattered designs, choose prints that are larger and more intentional. Medium-sized florals with breathing space, subtle abstract designs, or bold yet simple shapes create a polished, balanced effect. They add interest without overwhelming you, and they let your natural radiance shine through. If you've been relying on busy prints for comfort, don't worry, you're not alone. But once you experience the difference a cleaner, more structured pattern makes, you'll never want to go back. And speaking of overwhelming, let's move on to another pattern that can instantly weigh down your look: wide horizontal stripes. Wide horizontal stripes. Horizontal stripes are one of those patterns we've all worn at some point. They're considered a classic, and in theory, they should be timeless. But when it comes to wide, bold horizontal stripes, the effect can be surprisingly unflattering, especially for women over 60. The problem lies in how the eye reads the pattern. Wide stripes stretch across the body and emphasize width, not length. That means they can make you look broader, shorter, and even heavier than you actually are. And rather than highlighting your natural figure, these stripes tend to flatten and distort your shape. Picture this: a navy and white striped top with thick bands running across the chest and arms. Instead of creating balance, it pulls the eye sideways, making the torso look boxier. Compare that with a blouse that features narrow vertical stripes or even a subtle diagonal stripe. Suddenly, the lines guide the eye upward and downward, elongating the body and creating a more refined silhouette. I remember styling a woman in her early 70s who loved her nautical-inspired tops. She swore by her wide stripes because she thought they looked cheerful and youthful. But when she saw herself in a tailored shirt with slim vertical stripes, the difference was striking. Her posture looked taller, her waist more defined, and the entire outfit gave her an elegant lift. She told me afterward, "I feel like I just dropped 10 pounds without even trying." That's the power of choosing the right direction and scale of a stripe. So what should you reach for instead? Vertical stripes in soft, neutral tones are always flattering. Pinstripes or gentle diagonals can also add sophistication without overwhelming. And if you love the idea of a nautical vibe, go for thinner horizontal stripes in moderation, paired with solid pieces to balance the look. Stripes will always have their place in fashion, but not all stripes serve you well. When chosen wisely, they can elongate and flatter. When chosen poorly, they can add bulk and age. Now that we've tackled stripes, let's move on to another tricky pattern: geometric prints that are overly complicated and chaotic. Complicated geometric prints. Geometric prints can be bold, artistic, and fun, but when they become too complicated, they often work against you. Zigzags, oversized chevrons, clashing triangles, and chaotic multicolor blocks create visual noise. Instead of highlighting your natural elegance, they can make your outfit feel overwhelming and even a little dated. The issue isn't with geometry itself, it's with scale and complexity. A blouse covered in busy zigzags, especially in contrasting colors like black and neon yellow, doesn't add sophistication. It draws attention away from your face and creates a restless, jittery effect. For women over 60, this can exaggerate features you may not want emphasized and distract from the graceful presence you bring to a room. Let me give you an example. A client of mine once wore a dress with bold zigzag stripes in 5 different colors. She loved it because it felt playful. But when we swapped that dress for one with a simple two-tone geometric pattern, clean lines evenly spaced, the transformation was stunning. The new pattern framed her figure instead of distorting it, and her overall look shifted from chaotic to chic. The compliments she received that day spoke for themselves. So what works better? Look for geometric patterns that are structured, balanced, and minimal. Think soft chevrons in neutral shades or subtle diamond prints with space between each element. Monochrome geometric designs, like black and white, can look incredibly modern when the shapes are kept clean and not too dense. These choices add interest without overpowering you, letting your personality remain the focal point. Remember, style after 60 is all about clarity and confidence. Complicated patterns can cloud that message, while simplified designs amplify it. And speaking of bold designs, let's take a closer look at another pattern that women often turn to for drama. But when overdone, it can easily add years instead of subtracting them: animal prints. Animal prints. Animal prints are one of those patterns that never truly go out of style. Leopard, cheetah, snake. They're bold, confident, and full of personality. But here's the catch. When worn in excess, they can easily overpower you, making your look appear harsh or dated rather than chic and timeless. The problem with full-body animal prints, like a dress or jumpsuit covered entirely in leopard spots, is that they dominate the eye. Instead of enhancing your natural features, the print takes center stage, and the result can feel costume-like. For women over 60, this often adds unnecessary drama and can highlight the very things you'd prefer to downplay, such as skin texture or changes in body shape. I once worked with a woman in her mid-60s who adored her animal print wardrobe. She wore leopard cardigans, snake print pants, even cheetah print dresses. But when we tried styling her with a simple black sheath dress paired with a leopard scarf, the effect was remarkable. The small touch of animal print created excitement and flair without overwhelming her. She still got that bold, confident vibe she loved. Only this time it looked modern and elevated. So how do you make animal prints work for you? The key is moderation. Use them as accents rather than the entire canvas. A pair of animal print flats, a statement handbag, or a silk scarf adds intrigue without stealing the show. Pairing animal print with solid, neutral pieces allows the pattern to shine in just the right measure. Animal prints can absolutely be part of a stylish wardrobe after 60. They just need to be balanced. Less really is more, and when used thoughtfully, they can make you look chic rather than overdone. Now that we've covered animal prints, let's shift to another category of patterns, vintage-inspired prints that may feel nostalgic but often end up adding unnecessary age to your look. Vintage-inspired prints. There's something comforting about vintage-inspired prints. Maybe it's the paisley dresses that remind you of the 70s, the faded rose patterns that feel like Sunday afternoons, or the ornate swirls that echo decades past. While these prints hold nostalgia, they can also unintentionally make your style look dated, pulling you backward instead of forward. The main issue with certain vintage designs is that they anchor your look in a specific time period. Paisley, for instance, with its teardrop swirls and earthy tones, often brings to mind the 70s in a way that feels costume-like rather than modern. Similarly, heavy lace-like patterns or faded florals can suggest old-fashioned instead of timeless. For women over 60, this association can instantly add years, even when the garment itself is brand new. I recall a woman in her early 70s who adored her collection of paisley blouses. She loved the sense of nostalgia they gave her. But when we swapped one of those blouses for a simple silk top in a modern floral print, clean shapes, contemporary colors, the effect was immediate. She looked radiant, current, and her friends commented on how refreshed her style felt. The print still had personality, but it was reimagined in a way that spoke to today's fashion rather than yesterday's. So what's the better choice? If you love vintage vibes, aim for pieces that reinterpret them in a modern way. Look for updated florals with brighter, fresher palettes, or geometric motifs that nod to retro without being stuck in it. Pairing one vintage-inspired accessory with contemporary basics is another great way to capture that sense of nostalgia without looking outdated. Fashion should tell your story today, not freeze you in the past. By being selective with vintage prints, you can embrace your history while still looking fresh and stylish. And speaking of bold choices, let's talk about one more category of prints that many women use to look fun and youthful, yet they can easily backfire: neon and overly loud patterns. Neon and loud patterns. Bright colors and bold patterns can feel exciting, almost like a shortcut to looking youthful and energetic. But here's the truth. When those colors are neon or the patterns are too loud, they often do the exact opposite. Instead of making you look vibrant, they can overwhelm your features, highlight imperfections, and make your outfit appear more like a costume than a polished look. Neon pinks, electric greens, or blinding yellows may have worked in your 20s, but after 60, they rarely flatter the skin. Harsh tones reflect light in a way that emphasizes fine lines and uneven texture. Similarly, patterns with wild, clashing colors or oversized cartoonish shapes can distract from your natural beauty and make it hard for others to see you beyond your outfit. I once styled a woman who loved her bright neon workout tops. She said they made her feel lively, but when she tried on a soft coral blouse with a subtle abstract print, her entire look softened. Her skin looked more radiant, her smile stood out, and she still captured that feeling of energy without the harshness. The difference was night and day. So what should you wear instead? Choose colors and prints that radiate sophistication while still feeling fun. Soft pastels like lavender, blush, or powder blue can brighten your face without overpowering it. Jewel tones, such as emerald, sapphire, or burgundy, are also flattering and timeless. If you crave boldness, opt for one strong color paired with a neutral base, or a vibrant accessory like a scarf or handbag. This way, you still get that spark of personality, but in a way that elevates rather than distracts. Looking youthful isn't about shouting with neon. It's about choosing tones and prints that harmonize with your natural elegance and make you shine. Now that we've explored the 6 patterns to avoid, let's bring everything together with a quick recap and some inspiration for your style journey ahead. Conclusion. We've just walked through 6 patterns that can unintentionally add years to your look. Small, busy prints, wide horizontal stripes, complicated geometric designs, overpowering animal prints, outdated vintage-inspired patterns, and neon or overly loud colors. Each of these may seem harmless or even fun, but when you see the difference, it's clear why they often work against women over 60. The beautiful truth is that you don't need to give up on patterns altogether. Style after 60 isn't about limitations, it's about making smarter choices that let your elegance shine. Choosing prints that are balanced, structured, and thoughtfully scaled can transform not only how others see you, but how you feel about yourself when you step out the door. Fashion is about confidence, and the right patterns help you project exactly that. Remember, the goal isn't to erase your age, it's to celebrate it with grace, strength, and modern style. You've lived a rich life, and your wardrobe should reflect that. Think of clothing as your canvas. Instead of letting chaotic or harsh patterns take the spotlight, let your beauty, your presence, and your confidence be the masterpiece. So next time you're shopping, pause and ask yourself, does this print highlight me or does it drown me out? That simple question can completely change how you approach your wardrobe. And once you start choosing patterns that truly flatter, you'll notice how much lighter, fresher, and more radiant you feel. If this video inspired you, don't stop here. Be sure to check out our other videos on best hairstyles for women over 60 and fashion mistakes that make you look older. And of course, don't forget to like, leave a comment with your favorite takeaway, and subscribe for more style tips for women over 60. Your next chapter of fashion can be your best one yet, and it starts with the patterns you choose today